Hello and welcome to In the Kitchen with Sherwin. And no, I am not a chef. I'm just a dad who loves to cook and loves cooking with love. Today I'm going to share with you what I've learned on how to cut an onion. And I bet you didn't know that there was more than one way to cut an onion. That's right, there's actually four. The first way is the diced onion, the second way is chopped onion, third way, a sliced onion, and fourth, a onion ring. Maybe in your house you have one or two preferred techniques to cutting an onion. Well, after this video, it's my goal and my hope that you will be able to expand your onion cutting abilities with a few more techniques. So, without any further delay, let's get to cutting. As you notice, I have before you a cutting mat, and below it is a cutting board. The cutting board is used to protect my countertop. However, the cutting mat is used to protect my cutting board, also to prevent any type of cross-contamination between my food items. So first is a green cutting mat, which is for veggies. Second is a blue cutting mat for fish. Third, a red cutting mat for my meat, such as sausages, pork, beef, ham. Finally, cutting mat I use for poultry, chicken, turkey, duck, etc. Now, let's get into cutting an onion. I have before you my chef knife and my onion. What I'm pointing at is the tip of the onion. The other side is the root. The root, you can tell it's the root by way of the hairy stems on the end of it. And what we want to do is cut the tip of the onion off by cutting a slice from top to bottom. Put that tip to one side. There you have it. An onion that's able to stand on its own. It's very stable. Now we want to cut the onion in half by cutting through the root from top to bottom. Once we've cut through the onion, we now have two halves. Cleaning off our workstation, we want to take one of those halves. We want to peel the outer skin, the outer layer of the onion. We want to peel it from the tip that we cut off all the way to the root. Notice the root is still in place. We pick up the second half. Once again, from the tip of the onion that we cut off, we want to peel that onion from the tip to the root. And yes, always clean up behind yourself. So with two halves, we'll take one. We got the flat surface on one end, and we got the root on the other end. The root is actually facing towards our hand. So what we want to do now is cut vertical cuts lengthwise down the onion. From the root to the tip, not cutting the root, and you'll see why. By not cutting the root, the onion is still intact. And now we're going to cut horizontal cuts from the tip all the way back to the root. Once again, not cutting through the root. Be careful, this can be tricky. So slide the knife out of the onion. What we're going to do now is make widthwise cuts, vertical cuts from the tip all the way to the root, as close to the root as possible. Piling up our onions want to cut off more onions from the one end towards the root. The purpose for that is we don't want to waste any onions. We want to use as much onions as possible. So the remainder that's left is the root. Okay, that was diced onions. So now we want to cut chopped onions. Chopped onions is the same as diced onions. What we're doing is cutting those vertical cuts lengthwise, and then you cut the widthwise cuts vertical in big chunks. Most chefs like to use this particular cut for their stews or soups or roasting vegetables along with chicken roast or their pot roast that's in the oven. And thirdly, we are going to slice this onion. You got the flat side where we cut the tip off, and you got the side where the root is. You actually want to cut that root off at this point for sliced onions. Now turning the root away from you and the tip that we cut off earlier towards you, we want to cut vertical cuts lengthwise. And these cuts that you're making down the onion are actually along with the grooves, the striations. Most chefs or cooks like to use this particular technique when they're preparing salads or vegetables that are not cooked but mostly raw. And finally, we want to cut onion rings. So what's already cut is the tip. I cut that off already, which shows you that it can stand on its own. It's stable. But we're actually going to cut alongside of that of that onion. The root is actually facing us. Remove the side of the onion that we cut off. And now we want to turn it over and use that side to stabilize the onion so we now can cut vertical cuts lengthwise from the tip all the way back to the root, as close as you can get. Now what we want to do as we are preparing to remove the outer layers of the onion, the layers that we don't need, we're going to take each slice of the onion and we're going to press through the onion. For the most part, the onions are able to stay intact where you have a circular shape. Sometimes they break, but that's okay. The idea here is to push through the onion, creating the onion ring. My grandfather, when I was growing up, used to be an expert at cutting these onion rings, making the big golden fried onion rings with the fish, with the hamburgers, with any type of fast food entree. And boy, loved them so much. It was so thick and battery. If you like what you're seeing on this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's free, don't cost a thing. Just click the red button that says subscribe. There you have it, our onion rings. So we got our sliced onions, our diced onions, we have our chopped onions, and finally our onion rings. Thank you for watching.